Alright, I'm gonna cook while we're doing this. Peace to the East Memphis. Then you say keep the music pumping, bend down low. Pick it up, keep the boom boom jumping, touch your toe. Peace, everyone. Peace to the east, the west, the north, and the south. Big up St. Lucia Island, people. What's good? I know I'm a little late, but I want to cook because I'm raw. Remember I told you that I'm raw this week? So I'm going to be doing my raw stuff while I'm talking to you. So I'm kind of double dipping here like a New Yorker because I want to kind of make some of my stuff while I'm talking to you. I hope you don't mind because I was like, I could stop and do everything. I could stop and do everything one at a time, but if you know, I'm a triple Sag, so I like to put everything together. So anyway, join in. I was listening to some soca. You want to hear it? This is my parents' favorite soca by Sparrow. So if you've never heard soca before, I'll let you listen a little bit while everyone checks in. I'll let you listen to a little bit while everyone checks in. Jamba, 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 jamba. Okay. Peace. This is, if you want to know what FleurBrun does when she's in the kitchen, I play some island music. I'm doing my dates. I've got all my raw stuff. So this is how I get down for the new Vortex coming in 11/11/11. What up, Germany? Germany's in the house, so we can do a couple of shout outs real quick while we start off. It's hot in the house. This is something, if anybody's been to my home before, I like it hot in here. And I always have zero air on. People who are not from the islands complain because I like it hot when I cook. And usually I'll have clothing on. So that's a little FYI. That's why I like it hot. Callie's in the house. What's good? I see Callie. London Town is in the house. Virginia Beach. What's good? Alabama. Louisiana. What's good? Wisconsin representing. Yeah. Detroit. I see Cypher's in the house. What's good, Cypher? Washington, D.C. representing. Texas is in the house. Philly, what's good? I haven't seen Philly in a second. What up, Jennifer? North Kakalaki in the house. St. Louis, Chicago, Greenville, South Carolina, Georgia, Maryland, Jacksonville, North Kakalaki again, South New Jersey, Arizona, New York City in the house. What's good? My old neck of the woods. South Kakalaki, Netherlands representing. North Kakalaki, Nebraska, Virginia, Florida, Wyoming, South After, Ohio. Isn't it a little chilly in Ohio? PA, New Jersey, Baltimore, Iowa, South Africa, Mississippi, Florida, of course. What up, Ashley? My neck of the woods right now, Mississippi, North Carolina. We have a lot of North Carolinas in here. Jamaica. What up, Jamaica? You know, brethren, I'm about to make some island food. Calgary in the house was good. New Jersey in the house. Santa Fe. Ohio. Long Island. Strong Island's in the house. Nashville, Arizona. Ontario, Canada. Chicago. Brrr, New Jersey. What's good? Hey, Jose's in the house. Jose represents Mount Vernon and New York. Tampa representing Ghana. Woo! I love my Ghana people. Colton, California. Cypher's in the house. What up, Mandy? So let's get into it. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm in the kitchen. I have to make this raw dish. So I have to do it quickly because I want to make sure it's ready for tonight. So if you know, I have my dates. And I know a couple of you were asking for me to make things live, cook. I'll do that. I'm an island woman, so I know you like when I cook. Hey, Salem's in the house. Orlando. Hey, Monica. Watson. She's in my neck of the woods. So I'm being raw during this Vermont for a while. I'm not doing coffee. You guys would be very proud of me. No decaf coffee, nothing. I'm just doing green smoothies for 3+ weeks, trying to get through this vortex. The vortex is coming 11/11/11. Now, this is something you've not seen for a long time, so I thought it was very pertinent that we have this conversation. So let's get into it. Hold on. Okay. I should have like my ceiling fan is all the way in there. They don't have a ceiling fan in my kitchen. I really should put a ceiling fan in my kitchen. Because I don't like it. I don't like the air on, but I'm hot right now because I'm making this video while I'm a native girl, so when I cook, it's island music, limited clothing, and good company. So, I'm a little warm right now. Forgive me if I'm a little smelted, okay? So, we're dealing with the 11/11/11 vortex. This is a big deal. And why it's a big deal is because we've not really seen this, so to speak, because remember, 2019 equals an 11. The 2019, obviously, basic gematria, basic numerology, right? So 2018, the 1 + 8 is a 9. The 2 + 9 is 11. So that's your 11. So you have November 11/11. This is a big deal. This is a huge, for me to go, listen, I'm going raw for the entire time. I'm trying to clear my vessel out. I'm making sure I clear my little ones out. So I'm making sure that everybody's in alignment with the higher frequencies. A lot of chaoticness is coming into you're observing chaoticness in the matrix right now. So we want to make sure we stay above the rip. We have to make sure we stay above it so that it doesn't pull us into that vortex. Now, what's interesting about that is because I was watching John X last night. John X Army, is that his name? And what's crazy about it is that I caught part of his live stream. I don't think I caught the whole thing. So when I caught part of his live stream, I heard him talking about what if. So I was like, okay, he's talking about the vortex. Cool. We know that it's a form of awakening, something that's going to bring us into the awakening. So when he started off the conversation, it kind of threw me for a loop. I'm like, oh, wow. He was talking about the fact that what if the 11/11 that all of us have been seeing from, I think some of us have been seeing and noticing that number since 2000, some of us from 2001, some 2000, some a little later. But the fact of the matter is we've all have a relationship with that visual, noting it when we see it on our clocks. A lot of times we see it when we pass by, when we're on our cell phones. It's one of those numbers we've attributed that, seeing that number, to us being awake, meaning that, oh, you're in the awareness, you're in that beyond the veil. That's basically, you're on the right path. It depends on how you see that 11/11. But what if, the question was last night, what if the 11/11 that all of us have been seeing has been a subliminal collective warning. Listen to me, family. A subliminal collective warning. Let me wash my hands because I have to have these done before I'm done. So, what if the fact of the matter is we're thinking that this is his question, and I wanted to post this today because I was like, what if this is a warning? Maybe we all thought it was it could be awakening. Yes, we've attributed to that. But how do we know it is in a collective subconscious way to forewarn us of something about to pop off? What if it's something that all of us subconsciously, our souls, some of you don't have souls, some of you have spirits, some are just, avatars walking around with subconsciousness that was injected in you, but I'm not judging you. What if the fact is that all this time we've been getting a warning, taking it as some sort of heightened awareness, noting heightened awareness. What if it is that something's about to pop off on 11/11/11? Now, for some of you don't know, I think Iran, United States, listen, United States is no joke. I don't know where you live, but if you live in this masterfully occult, ritualistic country, you would realize that they are diabolically planning and plotting every aspect of our of what is coming with the pre-pole shift and post-pole shift. They've been pre-planning it. Okay, let's take that in consideration. Today, Iran has 700 tariffs. They have had 700, 700 restrictions put on them starting today. Iran, big up to our Iranians. The Iranians don't get to watch because United States bans us. I've met some of the most phenomenal people from Iran. They're actually much more progressive than most United States people. They're very, very intellectually sound. They're really, really quite astute in all aspects of our own history. I mean, the real history that is being hidden from the majority of us, okay? So most Iranians that I've met personally, and I can say this, that I've met enough to make a collective consensus of how generally the disposition of some of the people, and usually, they're a little upper echelon because obviously if they're traveling to the United States and they're allowed it here, because most Iranians are not allowed it here. Oh no, I think I met them, some of them I met abroad, I'm sorry. Let me retract that. I met them when I was abroad, okay? The fact of the matter is, they tend to be really, really cool, really back, not hostile. Americans go abroad and they're the most hostile people. Whenever I go abroad, and there's some people from the States, not all, but there tends to be a sense of self-righteousness, like egregious kind of behavior that is associated with formulated social narcissism when they go abroad. It's like, hey, I'm in the house, I'm American, this is what I am, sweat me, love me, if you hate me, it's because you hate yourself. It's an arrogance. Thank you, Empress. Thank you, gave me the word for it. An arrogance, which is really not becoming of us, especially when we're disliked globally for bullying and proponing our own ideology on the entire globe. Okay, I digress. Let's go back. The fact of the matter is, we have Iran, who we just poked 700 times, during a time when we have a herd of Central Americans hitting the border. We're on the verge of the United States of America putting out military, posting them all along the border of Mexico and the United States. On the precipice of an election that's about to pop off and either take the House, Republicans taking the House or the Democrats, which to me is asinine because if you don't know, all parties are under the same umbrella. They may proponent to you that they are different, but they are one coin with different sides of the same coin. And remember, a coin is a coin is a coin. It doesn't matter if I flip a coin, if I'm going to go pay for something and I have heads and tail on a 25 cents quarter. Does it really matter when I go to pay for my goods and services, whether I hand it to them with the heads up or with the tails up? Does it really make sense? No, because it is one coin with two different sides, meaning that they both are same representative, even though they look in opposition of one another. Okay? Let me cool off. Fire in the yard, fire in the yard. So we have a lot of different things being co-engineered right now, purposefully, to set up for a smokescreen. Now, family, when I listened to John X last night, I have to give him credit. I always, when I listen to something, it wasn't something I thought about, but he had me thinking last night. He had me thinking, what if this is a pre-programmed warning to tell us to keep our seatbelts on, feet grounded, clear out our system in case anything pops off, because something is about to be opened or invoked or sent on 11/11/11. That's a huge vortex. That just 11 in itself is a master number. Take it 3 times. Remember, everything in threes. It is the trifecta. It is the trinity of 11s. We don't get that very often, family, and we're about to get it in a couple of days. And I wanted to kind of put you in the mindset of staying out of fear, because as you see, FleurBrun is here listening to island music, making my dates, and I'm about to make a really wonderful creamy treat so I can eat tonight, because I have a sweet tooth at night and I have to make sure that I'm eating raw. Why I want us to detail this, because we can't change what we don't acknowledge. If you're walking around in La La Land like most sheeple, blissfully unaware that things are happening not only on the earth plane, but absolutely things are happening on the physical plane. I mean, on the spiritual plane. We have to know, as above, so below. Usually things that happen up in the ethers happens first, and then it translates and comes to fruition in physical form. This is something that we have to denote. So I wanted to bring up the conversation and see what you thought of the prospect that we've all been pre-programmed with a alarm system. Somebody said a countdown. Who said that? A countdown. Remember the movie Independence Day? There was a countdown, and they were trying to figure out what the aliens did. They saw these numbers, these cryptic numbers showing up, and they couldn't understand what it was. And finally, the guy who used to play the fly, he found out. He was like, oh snap, it's a countdown. And by the time he could even say anything, everything was popping off. People were leaving, but the normal person, the average Joe or Jill, is absolutely blissfully unaware that anything is going to happen. So we have to set in this conversation. The 11/11 is a form of awareness, but when it's going into hyper awareness, and you have all these outside entities purposefully injecting all these chaotic type of patterns of business, whether it be the borders, whether it be the herd. Remember, we still are unaware of who motivated this group of people from Central America to migrate, do their mass exodus to the border. Who is the one who actually initiated that? Where is the conversation of who was the first person to think about and initiate and bring people collectively together to do the migration and the exodus to the States? Now, you know my perspective on that. And I think it can be respected for the fact that I represent the indigenous population. And I also understand that there is a migration, there's an exodus. Just like in your Bibles, just like in the Quran, just like in the Talmud and the Torah, just like in some of the Tao publication, Tao translations, there's always a particular time when people, like a herd of people, notice they're calling them a herd. And we know that herds are usually have a clock inside of them, like moose do this, birds do this. They have an internal clock that motivates them, that goes ding, 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 an alarm clock that motivates them to move or migrate. It invokes their migratory patterns. So why do we think that we're beyond those imprints, those genetic imprinting, that instinctual notion that there are clocks inside of us that when something's about to pop off, we are motivated naturally, intrinsically, to do an exodus. Because if you notice, and I think I've talked about this before, we're having a mass migration of the Central Americans coming to the States, but then we're having tons of people from the States migrating to Central and South America. Do you think that's by chance? Do you think that that is just, coincidence? I beg to differ. I have a feeling, like I said, as above, so below. During the time, the United States of America was heinously coming to a country already ready, packed, and willing to take down the natives who were here. And when they saw that what they considered to be indigenous that were seemingly passive or blissfully unaware that there was a world of tyrants coming from the other part of the globe, they let them in, shared their food and customs, just to be totally sideswiped and taken asunder and abused, killed, and decimated for hundreds of years now. They've never recovered from the so-called pilgrims coming to the United States of America, which was not that at the time. It was all part of the same continent. And we're not talking about Pangea, because Pangea is really a conversation that we have. This is before the continents broke apart, Pangea. That's why we saw a migration of so many different types of people in all forms of the globe, because the globe was really not separated by all these different land masses that are separated by water. Pangea at the time was all one land mass, so people just walked as they pleased. There was no borders. There was no geographical, there was nobody motivated by or kept somewhere by geographical ley lines that kept them apart, So for that fact, what makes you think that, like I talked about the coin earlier, when you have one side of a coin that has a head on it, and you have the same quarter that has a tail on it. But at the same point, let's talk about the Americas, because this is all one continent, the Americas. We have people on one side who we deem to be South Americans and Central Americans, and then we have people on the other side that we deem to be North Americans. If we're about to do a pole shift, if we talk about it metaphysically and spiritually, wouldn't it translate in physical movement as well? On a planetary, on a physical notion, that people will flip poles themselves? That we talk about, this physical pole shift that's earthbound, but what about the people's pole shifts? What about the pole shift that we are motivated to do ourselves? Maybe this migration is the rewriting of and undoing and the karma of what has been done previously. So the previous peoples that actually coexisted here in this part of the Americas that have been denied entry to their cousins and their homelands that they were in previously before the inception of colonization, perhaps they're returning home. And for those of us who are feeling the motivation and the inclination to do our own exodus and movement to Central and South America, maybe we're being invoked by the pole shift to migrate to the place that we indigenously came from, because it's not just Central and South America. I bring that up because that's just me. But there's so many people I know who are going back home. I know people who are going back to Europe. I know people who are getting kicked out of Africa who are being forced to go back to Europe. I know there are Africans being kicked out of Europe, being told to go back to Africa. I know there's a huge incentive for people to go to Ghana right now. So maybe what we take as a travesty and we take as something like a coup d'etat is actually this natural process of the pole shift occurring in each one of us, going back to the original, because we talk about going back to 0 point. Perhaps going back to 0 point is going back to where you left. Remember, the homing beacon could be the 11-11-11. And we had a certain period of time to do our migration before the actual full-on pole shift. What makes you think it's not happening right now? And what makes you think that the United States, along with the other diabolical governmental agents that are all under one umbrella, what makes you think that they are working just as hard to keep us disinformed, so drenched in politics and in the drama of all these shootings and heinousness, that you miss the boat. You can't get your boat. I just watched a movie called Apostles, which was a really interesting movie. You want to see it? I think it's on Netflix, or was it on Prime? I think it was on Prime. I don't know if it was in Netflix or Prime, but it was really good. It was like one of those movies you just want to watch because it just looks so interesting. And I want to liken this to this. There was a group of people that, it was on Netflix. Thank you, Tito. There's a group of people, religious people, who left and found a little island. They went to the island, created this life, but they were based in a cult, and they found a god. And I don't want to give you too much about the movie. It's a very good movie. Why I want to talk about this is because the way that they went to the island, they took over and they imprisoned a goddess. The way that they left was in fear and in the same mode of tyranny that they came there. So what if everything has to go back to source? We came here in this incarnation in one spot. We did a trail and we got further and further away from where we originally came from, visiting, sightseeing, migrating, just beautiful, just nicely walking further and further away from our original point where we landed. When our homing beacon goes off, and we talked about this at the conference, when the homing beacon goes off, bzz, 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 the 1111, bzz, 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 it's telling us, okay, family, it's time to come back. You've explored, you've learned, you've found things, you're bringing things back, but it's time to come back. So maybe this migration and seeing the 1111 is our way of getting that code that, okay, you're awake. It's time to start going back to home base, to 0 point, and now we're returning back to where we originated from. I don't know. I throw that out there just to see your perspective and see if that's something that you could rock with, if you could collectively feel, because I'm seeing a lot of things happening overtly, but I'm reading the tone on the backlay. And again, I don't want to demonize a group of native people that are from Central and South America, because again, I don't know who initiated this migration. I don't know who was the initiator of all these collective people from not even just one country, Guatemala, but Honduras, from parts of the outskirts of, I think, El Salvador. There's a group collectively of people coming from different countries and working beautifully. Now, mind you, this is the interesting part, that I know it's being something that's coming from within, regardless of who motivated them to do it or not. The way that they're collectively working together, the way that they're watching each other's backs. You have mothers watching after other mothers' children. You're seeing fathers working collectively with other fathers. You're seeing everybody helping each other along the way. You're seeing the wonderfulness in Mexico of them giving these people water, shoes, help, some medical supplies. Why would they do that? Yes, there's a diabolical reason behind it, but what if? What if this is what's supposed to happen? What if the mass exodus is coming at a time where no borders can be blocked? We don't know what's going to happen on 11/11. We know that an election is coming up. We know that everything's coming to a pinnacle point, almost like there's going to be an implosion. Everything is leading to implosion. What is going to happen when all these multitude of people come to that border and they're met with the force of the same invaders? Remember, listen to this. They're met with the same invaders that their ancestors met when they came and took over their collective geographical ley lines. So now, the same group of people that were there previously, their cousins are still coexisting there in New Mexico, Texas, and Arizona. They're, the Dakota, the Iroquois, all the different more smaller units of indigenous aboriginals there. What if it that they're supposed to come back home and they're being met with force? Do you think Mother Tiamat is going to allow those people to be hurt? Do you think there is not going to be something that is coming that will make sure that there is some balance to how this herd, listen to what they call them, a herd, is met? I think it's going to be very interesting. 111111 is a vortex. When that doorway opens, when that gate opens, remember, we always assume a gate allows for others to come in. What if I told you that it's a two-way gate? Not only can others come in, but everyone who is in the frequency of that vortex, like Stargate, you know, ever watch that movie Stargate? What if all the people who are in the frequency who match the DNA of the vortex can actually go through? What happened to the Mayans, family? What happened to the ancient Egyptians that were living in ancient Kemet? When Western culture and civilization came upon Egypt, it was abandoned to them. What happened to the Mayans? Where did they go? Did they leave, or did they permeate through a stargate and at a pinnacle point vanish through to another realm of existence? Egypt is not what you see it today. The people coexisting in Egypt were not the ancestors who lived there previously. Where are those people? You could say a few people left. There was an exodus according to the Bible. Where did they go? They went through a stargate because there was a gate that opened, and just like some other clowneries came through, others left. So we have to assume that's why it's very important. Listen, family, I'm cleansing. Look, I have my dates all peeled and ready. See my dates? These are my dates. I peeled them and already. Okay? I have this. I'm going to do this later. I have my, my sea moss that I'm going to make later. Why do you think that we need to clear and cleanse right now? Because I'm motivated. It's weird because I felt like for a while I was eating. As you can see, I've been eating. FleurBrun does have an affinity to like to enjoy eatery. That's why I'm probably most likely a thickums. But what if I told you that all of a sudden, one day, this weekend, I said, okay, I don't want coffee anymore. Something just went ding, ding, ding in me, and it said, oh, I don't feel like getting any more. It's decaf. It didn't matter. I was like, I'm done. Something inside of me went off. And then all of a sudden, it was like, okay, I need to go and start doing raw. Maybe this intrinsic, big up to the thickums. That's right, Monica. Tell them. Maybe this intrinsic alarm, thickums unite. I love my thickums. We rock together. If there's a pole shift, we're going to be fine. We've got a lot of steerage and stockage. So we will resolve the thickums, and we will be living off our resources. Let me stop. So what I'm saying is that the fact of the matter is, I personally think there's some credence to what John X was saying, John X Army. I have a feeling that not only is it an awakening number, I think it's coded, and I think it's a countdown. And I think that's why, as a collective, everybody, even people who are not in the aware community, are noticing the 1111. People who I know who are not basically into our kind of genre. They're just not, it's not a disrespect, because everybody's where they're supposed to be at the time they're supposed to be it. But even they're noting. I notice my matrix people that I talk to are like, wow, that's weird. I see 1111 all the time. They're noting it. So I have a feeling that this was I give some credence, and I got to give credit to John X Army, because he made me think that this 1111 is not just what we thought it was, a sign of, oh, our awakening, yeah, we're awake. It is a coded message collectively that is sent to everyone, that is being perpetually put out there in our subconscious for us to take notice, like a countdown. And now when we're at the precipice, and I just, I'm rational, because I look at everything going on and I say, okay, look at all the things going on. I'm sorry, hold on. I got my food processor here. I just bought a new food processor. I love my food processor. I haven't used it yet, so I can't really say that I love it, but it's really pretty. What if we're seeing all of these things happening at a time where they are trying to keep us totally in lack of self-awareness, that we're totally so entrenched and drenched in everything around us that we don't notice when that stargate comes. Will you know when that gate comes? Will you know you'll be able to walk through? Will you be so involved in the matrix that you will miss your boat? All I've been doing is having dreams of getting on my train, getting on my boat, making sure that I make it. These traveling dreams are here to denote that there's something we're supposed to go to the next level. And remember, everyone will experience the pole shift in the level and the frequency and vibration that they match. So some people who didn't wake up initially, they need a bigger alarm clock, a louder alarm clock. So for them, the awakening for them, the precipice of the pole shift for them is going to be a lot more heightened, a lot more chaotic, a lot more vibrating in the frequency of chaoticness, in order to wake them up and bring them to their higher form of being. Because generally, like even with 9/11, many of us New Yorkers, whoever was there, know that New Yorkers came together. You have beef with somebody, it was done that day. People collectively come together in tragedy. It's the oddest and most beautiful thing. You will see strangers who look totally different, who will totally collectively work together and protect each other and assist. And it's weird because you say to yourself, well, these are people who wouldn't even talk to each other on the train. They wouldn't even acknowledge one another in a circle of friends. Why would this happen? Because tragedy, unfortunately, in the matrix is the catalyst to evolution, to spiritual and mental and physical evolution. It will propel you to do things that you normally wouldn't do. And we know this, as many of us gone through family tragedies. Maybe you lost a parent, maybe you lost a child, maybe you lost a job, and you didn't think that you could do it. And you're like, oh my gosh, girl, when you hear about somebody else going through it, you be like, girl, I can't do what you do because you're just stronger than I am. And then all of a sudden, you get the same scenario, same situation, maybe a little more heightened in tragedy, and you're in it to win it. And then, oh my gosh, you're actually doing things you never knew you could do before. You're actually shape-shifting your consciousness based on some tragedy, some formulated trauma that has come and shown up in your life, and all it has done is escalated you to another form of consciousness, another frequency that you didn't even know you even had access to. And that's why it's not awful that some of the things that are the ingredients of our personalities are some of the most tragic things, but make the most beautiful cakes. The most disgusting ingredients, things that you would not eat by themselves, come together so masterfully and make the most beautiful cake that you would never imagine those ingredients could do. It's necessary. So I say, family, 11-11-11 could be a portal popping open, and I have a feeling that some of us might jump through a vortex. Why? Is because it's too much going on, and for the United States Snakes of America to go bring out all the stunts, and it's all accumulating at a particular time, and for others, they don't know about the 11-11-11. We do. I want to make it with my family safely to a higher frequency existence pre whatever is coming about. So if this means, this is why I'm motivated to not mess with my favorite Starbucks drink. Big up to, I love this. People are asking, this is my favorite. If you want to know my favorite green drink, and I'll make this in the morning tomorrow. I'll make it every day. It's mango, frozen mango, pineapple, kale, a splash of lemon, ginger, and juiced pineapple juice. This is my favorite drink to drink. Whenever you feel like, whenever I'm jonesing for something, all I have to do is have my phenomenal elixir, and I feel like a goddess. I do. And mind you, I've been drinking decaf since before the conference, right? But this actually gives you a lot of energy and it makes you feel really good. And it's easy. And I always tell you, don't always go to other people. You can make your own things. You know, a lot of times, like, someone said, what am I going to do when I feel like drinking coffee? I've fasted so many times, so I'm kind of used to this. So oh, you add dandelion. Dandelion's really good. It cleans out the liver. Whenever I go through this transition of fasting, I've mastered this because I've done it so many times. But I add, whenever I'm jonesing for the taste of coffee, this is my favorite. This is Techino. This is French roast. This is my favorite. What I'll do is I'll have this. This is non-coffee. This is like a, it's like chicory. It's like a chicory. It's really nice. It's smooth. So when I'm feeling like the need to have something sultry and reminds me of coffee that's not coffee at all, this is the best, Techino. For those who go fasting, especially when you go through your detox when you're drinking coffee, I always tell people to do Techino because Techino French roast has the best taste to it, and it's very reminiscent of coffee, and it's not coffee at all. It has zero coffee, nothing. It is phenomenal. And you know, I always verify companies. I always do. That's one thing you can always assert with me. I make sure I follow companies. I make sure that it has integrity. The ingredients are what they're saying. And Techino has held up. So this is a nice one if you guys are, anybody who's going to fast and you want to do a raw fast, do Techino. If you're jonesing for a coffee type of taste, and it's very smooth, very nice. It has some dates in there as well. It's just a very jail coffee. It's a very pleasant thing. And if you are a vegetarian and not a vegan, and you're worried about sweetness of things, you know, I always say, again, if you do sweetness, I love dates, and I will make my own date sweetener for anything, because dates are, and especially raw. So long as it's raw, you're not getting that hyperglycemic spike when you're having things, and it's really, really good for you. It has packed with minerals and vitamins. It's phenomenal, and it's sweet. Dates are sweeter than sugar. You just don't want to mess with any sort of cane sugar. Cane sugar is just, it is the devil, and it's something that we get used to because we've had cane sugar our whole lives. But at the same thing, you know, we have to, if we know better, we have to do better. So I do that. So people always ask me, what do I do when I go fasting or go raw? I do dates. I'm allergic to the GMO bananas. Remember, my ancestors used to have bananas with seeds in it. And I asked the doctor one day, I said to them, I said, listen, I have an allergy that I did not have to bananas initially. It's because bananas have been homogenized, even the organic ones. They don't have the black seeds in it. And the only bananas that I can eat is when I go to Central America and parts of St. Lucia and Martinique. I can eat the bananas on my island. I cannot eat the bananas in the States. And they could be organic, it doesn't matter. If they don't have seeds in them, that's not something you should be messing with. So I just want to, I know I'm sidebarring right now because people are like, okay, we're talking about, but it's all relative because at the end of the day, this conversation about cleaning yourself, eating things that are healthy for your endocrine system, because remember, family, if you're going through a vortex, have any of you watched these movies? Have you ever watched Stargate? Do you know what that does to your biomolecular system when you're walking through a Stargate? If you look at the numerous movies that are detailing these Stargates, and even I've talked to people who have knowingly gone through Stargates. Now, I've done it etherically. I have. And I remember it. But when you go through a Stargate, your body changes. And if you are not in alignment with the frequency and the location is a frequency of your DNA. So you have to match the right codes of that frequency to go through the Stargate. Your body will disintegrate, or it will be disallowed from entering into that particular Stargate. I remember years ago, when I was with my Nazi, big up to my Nazi, big up to my Nazi who brought me to the pits of hell, who basically was my overseer. He was the one who traumatized me in order to propel my awakening. Big up to my Nazi. When I remember when I had, I was really super heightened aware, and this is why they do this. When you become in heightened awareness, if your mate is not matching, the relationship will disintegrate. You'll be unable to stay with somebody who's outside of your frequency. They'll leave, they'll die, they'll curse you out, they'll try to kill you, you'll try to kill them. It's not healthy. So whenever you are with somebody at the time when you're in heightened awareness, if they're not matching, even to the closest degree, they will be disallowed to be in your frequency any longer. That's the thing about all of you doing all this wonderful work on yourselves. And I don't call it work, I call it self-love. You're eating well, you're steaming your yonis, steaming your yoni spaces, you're cleansing, you're claying, you're speaking masterful words, you aren't using spells anymore, you're telling yourself you love everything about you, you're sitting out of the sun, getting all those codons activated, you're having masterful sex, manifesting things with a great partner. When you're doing all these things and you're shifting and upgrading to a heightened and going through a quickening, which Dr. Belair said it was like a quickening, what happens is that everything that is not matching, it's like you shooting up in a rocket, but everything else is falling down, seemingly, or are you rising above it? So basically anything that is below you is now in a different line of frequency. It's in a different line of even perspective or view. So you can't expect to be awake and aware. That's why a lot of times when I talk to people, I know your consciousness by who you rock with. All I have to do is go to someone's channel. Like when people, oh, FleurBrun, da-da-da-da. And I have an inquiry about them, especially if they're saying and detailing things and I want to verify it. I see who follows them. I see who's in their chat rooms. I see the type of frequency of the beings that they rock with personally. If I'm seeing the beings who are rocking around them to be limited in cognitive or heightened in cognitive dissonance, or limited in intellect or spiritual astuteness, it is a detail that the person who's proponing themselves as so-called higher frequency is really something. They're giving smoke and mirrors. They're telling you one thing, they're proponing one thing, and they're really not that. Like I tell people all the time, you want to know about FleurBrun, you could go to my neighborhood. And I'm okay with that. You know why? Because I'm about this life. Anyone you talk to, anyone you see, even the homeboy who saw me at my health food store, big up to the homie who saw me at the health food store a couple months ago. He just hit me up on Starbucks. It says Starbucks and on one of the things. You see me as I am. I'm this. He was like, oh my God, you look the same, you act the same. I was like, who did you expect to see? I don't come to you all clean and pristine. I come to you as I am. But why I'm able to do that now only is because I've gained some wisdom and I'm seasoned. I'm outside of the perimeters of caring what people think about me anymore. Why? It's because I've grown up. And even when I started, you remember when I started YouTube, you can see a wave of difference of who I was when I first came on YouTube to now. My evolution has shown, and it's beautiful, and I'm grateful for it because I've had to go through aspects of hell, heaven, dysentery, sadness, happiness, elation, all these wealth of ingredients that I've had to gain to be able to come to this state of being where I sit here before you today. So when you see me, I always tell people, when people question who I am, come, you see me in my neighborhood, you come and see me, I'm the same, every day, all day. If I'm having, if I'm outside, you always see me talking outside to people. I'm like my daddy in that way. My dad was the biggest socialite. He loved to talk to everybody. I'm kind of like that, more so than my mom. My dad was more of a chatty type of man, very Caribbean man in that way. You see me as I am, and why I had to come to being okay with me is because if you're not okay with you, nothing outside of you can be okay with you. If you curse me out, some people do. If you curse me out, if I really didn't feel okay about myself, that could intrinsically change how I feel. I could be moved by somebody else's feelings about me. How you feel about me has nothing to do with me. It has all to do with you. Whether you like me, hate me, love me, sweat me, hate me. Some people like me some days and then they hate me another day. It's normal. You're not supposed to necessarily rock with everything I say every day, all day. But this is part of us going into 11-11-11 because it's heightened awareness. Now, if we know that 11-11 is the heightened awareness state of being, then we know that on 11-11-11, when it comes about, everything's going to come to a culmination. Everything. And if we're matching the frequency of the Stargate or whatever the vortex, however it shows up, I'm not quite sure. I can't verify it because my soul may not have the access to that memory. So when it comes, we're matching so that we can jump through that Stargate only if it's for our benefit and it's what we're aligned with. We can jump through the Stargate and go through the next process of evolution. And I have a feeling that's exactly what is going to happen. I have a feeling there's going to be a vortex that's opening, and that's where all the solar radiation, that's why they said there was a big EMT coming. People are so scared that the electricity is going down. Listen, I have a home, and I don't even like to put air on. You guys have to be comfortable with everything that is naturally, intrinsically all about what you have and who you are. If an EMP comes, it is exactly why our ancestors didn't even have a big deal and didn't worry about all these earthquakes and physical changes is because they weren't out of sync with nature. They didn't build skyscrapers up to the stars attached to the ground. Listen to what I said. Listen to what I said. They didn't build skyscrapers, because some of our ancestors are galactic, that were attached to the ground. They may have had skyscrapers, they may have had tall, illuminated spheres, but they weren't connected to an earth that would be traumatically changed or altered or decimated with a physical change. And for those more, smaller groups and tribal bases, they had teepees. They had mud houses. They lived in the trees, like Avatar. They weren't worried about an earthquake coming because the earth would just shake. Okay, it's shaking. All right, it's shaking. We stand still. Okay, it stopped. We move. You know what I mean? If there was a storm, they would go probably inward. They probably have places where they go inside a cave or something like that, ride it out, rock it out until the storm ended, and then come back out. We're so out of tune with the natural state of this planet that everybody is so fearful that their darn cell phones will go down, that their children won't have their iPads and iPods to distract them from having conversations with their parents, that everybody is so up in arms that if a EMP comes through the sun shooting out plasma, whether it's a man-made EMP coming from another country, so many people are so out of alignment, they're so pissed off and scared to even deal with nature or being in a natural state of being or being proactive in your own consciousness, your own, without third parties. The board games, thank you, Yvonne. You should be ready. Listen, I got Pachisi on stash. I have dominoes, and Kirk needs to get me some more dominoes because Kirk is the master of dominoes. I don't mess with Kirk and dominoes because he is a monstrosity of a winner. I've never seen anything like it. You've got the backgammon, you've got chess, you have conversation with your children. Some of you don't even know your children. I've sat outside and literally have watched families, because I live in the land of Disney, so I see families in all dynamics. I love it because I get to see families in all ways. I see families sometimes and they don't even talk to one another. They're just sitting here like this with phones stuck to their face. The children are not engaged with the parents. And you wonder why our society is showing up in a really chaotic way to wake us up. So, what if John X was correct? What if 11/11 was a countdown? It was a coded countdown to count us down to this culminated day. 11, what is it, on a Wednesday? I think it's on a Wednesday. Hold on. Let me check the day. Oh, no, 11/11 is on a Sunday. Okay, it's on a, thank you, it's on a Sunday. Okay, it's on a Sunday. Sunday. It's on a Sunday. So, yay, day. That's a little metaphysically interesting, too. Could mean that there's going to be a huge wave of energy coming from, I don't know if it's from the real sun, the sun simulator. we got so much artificial intelligence going on with the spheres in the sky. I don't know if it's a hologram, the holograph. I don't know if it's a real moon. I don't know if it's a fake sun simulator. Regardless of a Saturn. Thank you, Alice. Pick whatever it is, but it's all relative. People always say, well, what if it's fake? It doesn't matter. Everything is relative. So it doesn't matter if something shows up that seems artificial. It is all based in, it has to utilize something organic to be able to even manifest in the physical. Okay? So it could be initiated artificially, but it has to utilize the elements to be able to come to fruition. So at the end of the day, everything is balanced in the universe. So it could be some pop off. So I just say, all this to say, isn't any reason to be frightened. Like, I know we have some people motivated in fear all the time. Because I get those all the time too. Oh my God, there's going to be something detrimental coming earthwise. My ancestors are here. We are a testament that we have lasted eons, some of us. I don't know that anybody here is organic. I'm just saying. We have been here. So why are you so excited? Why are you so scared of something detrimental happening? You're a testament that you made it through a couple cycles. Your gene pool is still coexisting on the planet, meaning that your ancestors, all those answers inside of you, all those codons, those informational codons like ants have, insects have, animals have, that you have access to, they're all inside of you. So everything that happened on this earth, depending on if you are organically from here or not, if you are been here for a couple of centuries and a couple cycles, in this gene pool, remember, you are your ancestors. You already know what's going down. That's why the 11/11 may be relative. That's why the 11/11 might be a countdown. Because it could be just the codons saying, okay, it's time, family, we're preparing you. And maybe our ancestors would have taught us. See, the problem is you've got all these ancestral people who destroyed ancestral knowledge. So these were probably things that the chief would tell you was coming, or the medicine woman was going to tell you, the priestess would tell you, and you would know where this is coming from if you saw something repetitively. See, we would have had that access. But because you have colonizers, draconian colonizers, reptilian colonizers, the draconians especially, who have gone and decimated all the information and utilized their cronies called mankind to distribute the lies, most people don't know what it is. We're basically guessing because of all the food. Even the food is keeping your mind limited. Because even yesterday, what was it the other day? I had something, I had like a wonderful, like a salad, and it had, I don't know if that, sometimes when I go and eat salads, I don't know all the time, especially if I'm out. They say I get organic anything, but it didn't say necessarily organic, so it might have some, like maybe a GMO cucumber that doesn't have seeds. I buy cucumbers with seeds, but some people, if you go to restaurants, you can't verify. That's why I don't like going out to eat that much, because I can't verify that everything they say is true, like my dad used to say. But I remember going out, and when I went to eat, my eyesight got foggy. It's like, what the heck is that? It's just a salad. My eyesight got foggy, my head got a little foggy, and I was like, oh my God, it's the food. Remember, this is also a side effect of when you go fasting. For all those who like to fast, you should know this, because when you fast often and seasonally, like I used to, I don't do it as much anymore because it makes you bulk, but I used to fast seasonally. What happens is that your body resets, and now your body's hypersensitive to the things it should be, and it shouldn't have tolerated, because now you're not on mute. Now you're aware that, oh, now we can't have this. You may have been mute by eating those things perpetually over and over, so then you become, just blissfully unaware, because your body has been over traumatized by something that's not good for you, that has shut down the alert system. But when you fast, what happens is that you reset your biological clock, and then when you start to reintroduce foods again, you'll realize what's not good for you and what is. And I'm hypersensitive to, remember, I'm allergic to soy, but I used to be able to tolerate back in the days. I have zero tolerance. I can tell you soy, my girlfriends will give me something to see if there's soy in it, because I will hive up right away. But part of me being allergic to soy is also me coming into a body where they knew soy was something they didn't want me to consume. So I incarnated in a physical form where I have sensitivities to the things that would make me further sleep or make me sick mentally. So I'm grateful to incarnate in a physical body that has allowed me to be sensitive to those geoengineered foods that aren't good for humanity in itself. It's a beautiful thing, okay? Yeah, soy is the most, there's soy in everything. I told you, every chocolate bar, one of the sea stars, thank God, she found a chocolate bar that, once in a while, like chocolate, she found one that didn't have soy. And this is all the way, like, it's African. I mean, it's sad. Even the organic ones all have soy. There's soy in everything. Soybean oil, soy everything. They're purposefully, you think they're doing it for your good? Just like they're putting, what's the other one? Safflower oil. Safflower, SAFFLOWER. Safflower oil is also something that's toxic to many people from the islands. And they're putting it in everything. Now safflower oil is not a sidebar, because canola, is a genetically homogenized oil. It's not a natural oil. So canola, but now they're putting safflower lectin in everything. Thank you. It's crazy. I saw it, I was like, oh my God. But most people don't know they're allergic to it. How I knew, I'm grateful, because I obsess with things. I went to, when I first heard about it from a girlfriend who's another holistic practitioner, I was like, oh, she said it's a good low index oil, get it, cold pressed. And I went and got it. And I made like a wonderful, like a little salad, and I put a little bit on it. My whole intestines closed up and got swollen from safflower oil. I was like, oh my gosh. So I had to let that process go. And then I had to look at where safflower oil is toxic to many people, including lunars. So be careful with safflower oil. Not everybody has this type of version, but there are a lot. And I told you, I talked about it on Patreon. They are putting and propelling foods out there that they know that certain galactic reptilians and certain people mixed with other ETs on this planet are allergic to. So things that they propel out there and they put it like they're promoting it, they know that certain Naga serpent bloodlines are allergic to it. So they will make them consume things that are poison for them, while the rest of the populace is all good with it. So you gotta be very careful. Almonds, you gotta be careful with almonds. L. Summers, if it's good for you, keep it up. But remember, almonds grow on my island. If you eat nuts or drink almonds, any nut milk for too long, you're going to have issues later, gastrically and also acidic-wise, because it breaks down your system. Almonds is good. Remember, I can talk about it because it grows on my island. Almonds is not something that any nut, you don't want to eat nuts every day consistently. If you do almonds, you should do it once a week or once every 2 weeks. Any nut. Cashews also grow on my island. It comes like a big coconut. On my island, it has a poison in it, kind of like ackee. When people eat all these cashews, like I have cashews over there, you won't see me do cashews all the time. Cashews will break down your endocrine system because it is a one big coconut looking thing. I know all my island people know this because it grows in my island. One big coconut looking thing. It has poison. So in order to extract the one cashew is a process. Anything that has poison inside of it means it is not something you're supposed to consume. It's like onions and garlic. I was the only person, I remember growing onions years ago because I like to grow chives and so on. This is when I was living on the farm. And I grew onions and garlic. Now garlic I'll use once in a while because garlic is bad for your brain. They'll tell you garlic is great for your heart, it's true, but it also causes atrophy of your brain. Okay, so it does one good thing, and yeah, cashews, you should not be doing nuts every day. I've already talked about it like once a day. Like when I make this little goodie, it actually has cashews, but I can only have this once this month. So I will only have the cashews with my dates once. After that, I can't have it again because I know what it will do. That's why people who are drinking almond milk and so on, you got to be careful doing all that. I can show you, let me show you the flax milk that I have. Hold on. This is good karma flax. This is the flax. I do seeds. Seeds are better. You won't give you that hyperallergenic process. This is good for the little people. It's really creamy. I don't like the one with protein. They ran out of the other one. This is really good. And I verified this for those mothers, because I always talk to the mommies who are pregnant. This is really good for the babies if you can't nurse or you're going off of weaning them off nursing. This is phenomenal with that. Okay, so this is something that you can, I prefer hemp for mommies more so than this. The seeded, because I don't like them doing seeds too long, but you can also have this with the babies to acclimate to the babies. Like if you want to acclimate them off of your milk when you're nursing, you can acclimate them with a little bit of this. I prefer hemp. Hemp is actually more power packed. I make sea moss for the babies. So when my babies are born, I do sea moss like a shake, and it's high in nutrients for them. So hemp milk is really good. This is really good for the babies. I know I'm going on a sidebar right now, but this is good for the babies. I always tell the mommies, because a lot of mommies are pregnant right now or have little ones. This is really good. Quinoa. This is a nice one. Instead of doing rice, because rice has arsenic, rather doing rice, I would ask that you do quinoa. If the babies tolerate it. Not all babies. I think that it's a European sect, my European lunar family. There might be a sensitivity with my lunars from, I think from Denmark and from Germany. No, not Germany, Denmark. So this is really nice to add to, I give you some gems. Yeah, I'm all about the babies. If things you want to know about having children, I can lend, because I talk to a lot of wonderful moms. It's not just myself, but it's good for, if you want to do the milk with that, you always want to do the flax, which is good. You can do this pretty regularly. And also, this is nice as a sidebar for mommies to acclimate the babies to eating real food. You know, don't do rice. Rice will bulk up gassy tummies when the baby comes out. Makes them really, gives them gripe. You know, West Indians, we have gripe water and stuff like that. I don't know people in the States, you have it, but gripe water is good to get rid of gripe in the baby's tummy. Things like that. So do it. That's why I did a lot of verification. Every time I get pregnant and I have a baby, I always make sure that I only give to my babies what I want. And also the fact of the matter is I overstand and understand and understand that especially if I'm having a little girl, that I know that her eggs are inside of her. So my grandchildren are inside of my daughter. So when I'm having girls, and maybe in the future I'll have a boy, but if I'm having girls, I also understand that I have to make sure that I'm taking care of my girls because they're holding my future grandchildren. So everything I give to them is really with integrity, and I try to verify. I let them have fun too. But I make sure that I also, no rice milk. Rice milk has arsenic. It's not good because it's gastric issues. I am not a fan of it. you know, this was something that was brought over when the Asiatics came from China, and they brought that crop with them. So a lot of the indigenous people who live in the Americas that are Asiatic, those are the migrants that came to the Americas, they eat a lot of rice and beans. Big up to my Latinas. My Latinas eat a lot of rice and beans, raw rice. They got there from their ancestors because they weren't indigenous to the Americas, they were migrants. They came in one big wave, and they eat a lot of rice. So they brought that crop with them, and that's something that is not good long term. You can have rice, like I said, everything in moderation is good, okay? And also, this is good. Yaman bitters, Aunt Lindsay's and Lynn's bitters. This is really good for the babies and yourself. So if you're suffering from parasites or you want to get off a sugar craving, you got to get your bitters, because the parasites inside of you are probably going to still crave the sugars, even us who drink coffee. So this is really nice to have. I love Aunt Linda's Jamaican Yaman. This is a really good bitter. This is good for the babies. You always give the babies bitters. Start them young so they'll get acclimated to bitter taste, because you want them to be more acclimated to bitters than to sweet. If you have healthy babies, they won't crave sweets. They'll crave bitters. Okay? This will clean out the colon. This gets rid of parasites. It's very safe for the endocrine system. This is very nice. Let's see. Yes, you can rinse your your rice. Yes. You rinse your rice. If you eat rice, obviously you know you wash it. You have to wash your rice. You can't tolerate quinoa. That's what I'm saying. Quinoa may not be tolerant to everybody. Safe while breastfeeding. Breastfeeding is the best way to feed the babies. I know, I'm sorry everyone who's on here, because I know all the men are like, come on, FleurBrun, you talking about breastfeeding. But this is all relative to being healthy. And if you are a man and you're mating, or you have a potential mate, or you have a wife or a girlfriend, she may potentially have a child, or she has one. Nursing is the best way. Nursing is the best way to get the best. You know, everything I eat goes inside of me, and I produce the best milk possible. I'm non-GMO. I don't have anything on me. I don't keep metals on me when I've never had a tattoo, so I don't have that in my system. You know, I'm non-GMO. I'm an heirloom. I'm O positive, heirloom, non-GMO, and I eat well. So any milk that would come from me, my baby will get the benefit of that. Okay, so I'm sorry I went sidebar. Bitters, the bitters you can water it down. You can do a teaspoon. If the baby will usually at first, if you get them acclimated from little, you put it on your finger. And when they're babies, like after nursing especially, or before nursing, or some mothers from where I come from, you put, close your ears, man, because this is not for you. You put it on your nipples. And what it does is that when the baby goes to nurse, she gets a little bit on it when she nurses. So she'll get acclimated to it. That's something you could do as a trick to get them acclimated. I say start from baby. So you put them on your nipples so that the baby gets used to that. And then after a while, you can give them teaspoons and they'll be able to tolerate it. But you don't want to do it too often. You do it once in a blue. Okay? I don't know where you can get it. Amazon is out. You want to get this, you can get this at any West Indian store. Some of you, if you're from the give island places, they have them. Asian markets have them, the bitter. So if you want to go to an Asian market, they'll sometimes have the Jamaican bitters there. So, okay, I'm sorry I sidebarred. I know everybody's like, she's talking about nipples. She's talking about nursing. Listen, I I know some of you get upset, but this is who I am. If you're on this channel, you know I'm a mother and I'm an advocate for animals, children, and families. If that is all you know that I talk about being in contact with aliens, but I do talk about things that are holistically balanced as well. Okay? And I do share with you what I do. So I know people get offended. They're like, if you're grown folk, you should be able to have this conversation or listen to it and tolerate it. Come on now. Yeah. Just eat healthy when you're pregnant. When you're pregnant, eat healthy. You shouldn't be having anything too acidic. Also, make sure when you're pregnant, you're consuming things that you want the baby to eat when the baby comes out. You can't be a garbage pail kid, pregnant, and then expect the baby to like healthy foods. Because if you're eating tons of junky foods, the baby has that taste in them because you've been giving to them for 9 to 10 months. So when the baby's born, the child is going to have the acclimation of wanting to eat the same carbonated, junky food that you used to have. That's it. You nursed for about 12 years. Okay, I'm good. I think there's so many mothers on here. Most of us are nursers. Absolutely. You can't ask for your children to be anything but you are. You know, if you're a garbage pail kid, your child will most likely be a garbage pail eater. So that's just what it is. Found out that I'm O positive as well. Hey, Kyrie, you're O positive. What up, OG? You're OG. Garlic is, like I said, garlic in small increments. Everything has to be balanced. Garlic is not good for your brain. Garlic also long term causes atrophy to the bones. So people in populaces where they eat a lot of garlic, you will notice that they'll have a lot of bone issues or marrow issues or joint issues because it causes atrophy. Okay, so it's bad for the brain and it causes atrophy long term. But if you're doing like a little cleanse, garlic is good to get rid of things. If you want to do a dose of garlic once every other meal, that's fine. But it's just good to be balanced. I always tell people, if you enjoy garlic, don't stop eating it, but know what it is. You can't change what you don't acknowledge. So at the end of the day, if you do a little bit of garlic, I don't suggest it, because even this woman was talking about hair. She was doing this hair tutorial, and the first ingredient she had in natural hair was garlic. You don't ever want to put straight garlic on your hair or on your hair or your head. Absolutely zero. You want to make sure you keep that off your head. I crave chicken for the whole pregnancy. You have cravings for what your body requires. I always tell mothers, if you're a vegan prior to pregnancy, you probably won't be a vegan after pregnancy, during the end of your pregnancy. Okay? For one child, first child, I was a vegan I was a vegetarian prior to my first, and I had an affinity for beef smoked kielbasa through that whole pregnancy. No, the second half of the pregnancy. I told the doctor I can't stop it, and the doctor said, whatever you're requiring, you need it. And I'm a holistic type of person, so I tried to appease in other ways, and it did not satisfy it. So what I did is acknowledge that I was going to be a flexitarian during that first pregnancy. My second daughter, she obviously was more vegan based. It was easier for me to eat like fresh raw. She liked raw. I said she was gonna be like an ET. She loved raw stuff when I was pregnant. It was easier for me to stay a vegan during my my second pregnancy. I say vegan very lightly because I might have added honey or dairy. I don't know with that second pregnancy. So I don't tell people to go into your pregnancies, because whatever the baby requires, as long as it's healthy and you are acknowledging anything that you consume, get the healthiest what it is, then you eat what's necessary. Because your cravings are denoting what you're requiring. Some people crave weird things. Okay? So, sidebar. I'm sorry. We went all kinds of we went all kinds of sidebar on this feed. I apologize. Okay, so anyway, family, I just wanted to talk about 11/11. Kind of talk about what I think this could be. And I say think because obviously I thought to myself when I heard the gentleman, hold on. When I heard John X talk about where this could be a possible alarm for some major event that happens on that day, I say, listen, if something's about to pop off, just be aware that something could, and be prepared vehicle-wise, because you will only experience what you're in the frequency and vibration to experience. Other than that, so if you are chaotic, fighting, cursing out your parents, you're having fights with your mate at home, like boxing fights. That's not funny, but if you're mad at your job every day, if you are frustrated consistently, perpetually, you're in a frequency of chaos. So you will match whatever chaotic scenario is about to pop off on that day. If you are and don't get me wrong, I want to keep it balanced. Is that I'm not talking about you to be like Yoga Tom. I always talk about Yoga Tom. Whoever's name is Tom, I'm so sorry. I use you as an example every time. If you're like Yoga Tom doing yoga every day, all day, you have no realistic concept of life, people. You isolate yourself only with other people who are just exactly like you. You are unable to even tolerate someone who drinks a yogurt smoothie with non-vegan creamer because you feel like they're abusing the breast milk of all the cows. You're gonna have a problem too, Yoga Tom, because you're too far right. That you need to be balanced. If you're too far right, you're going to experience something that will absolutely bring you in more of a healthy, balanced homeostasis. So if you're too far right, you know what the chances are is you're going to end up bowing all the way to the left. That means everything that you aesthetically do to yourself to keep yourself so extremely to the right, you're going to have a pendulum switch that'll probably bring you all the way to the left. Remember, we talked about the coin. Both sides of the coin are the same issues. Someone that you will totally love one day, if you love them in an unhealthy way and so extreme, I guarantee if you're with them long enough, you will see a day where you hate that same person that you so vehemently loved and adored. Why? Is because it's too extreme. I learned this from one of the masterful yogis. For every exclamation, there will be an opposite relation. So it's best to, if I, like I said, I like my mate. He's cool. I'm cool with him. If I rock with him today and I don't rock with him tomorrow, I'ma still like him. I'ma still talk to him. Me and him may even still hang around. So I make sure that I keep balance, because I remember back in the day with my Nazi, the sun rose with my Nazi. I loved him beyond myself. And you already know that tragic story of what happened later on. Do I feel about that being like that today? Absolutely, impeccably, zero. Negative. Nah. But I had to go through that extreme. So it's the same with if you're too extreme, and that's why I say vegans have the biggest letdowns, or diabolical meat eaters. Diabolical meat eaters who eat flesh incessantly are the same people as the people who only eat veggies. You don't think so? I will tell you that that is how it will happen. People who are diabolical meat eaters are the same people as the diabolical vegans. They are the different side of the one coin. They're too extreme. They have to be balanced. If you notice, you will see that meat eaters will make memes on vegans all day, every day. They are so repulsed and opposed to veganism that it makes them, propels their lives to just criticize it. Take the opposite of the vegans. The vegans do exactly the same thing. Same behavioral patterns, though they're different people, right? They're supposed to be more enlightened. No, they're the same people, except they're vehemently demonizing meat eaters all day. They make a career out of demonizing meat eaters. They are one and the same. I had to come to that during this vegan uprise, because all I see is a whole lot of unhealthy, toxic Nazi vegans sitting in a high horse position criticizing meat eaters to a very unnatural degree. Listen, if you're about that life, you don't have to advertise it. You don't have to put it on the screen. You don't ever have to tell anybody that you're a vegan. The fact that you have to promote it and overtly talk about it all the time means you're struggling with it. Okay? Because if you're about that life, listen, if you are that, you don't have to talk about it. You just be about it. That's it. So I know someone struggles by what they're promoting to me and what they're projecting, because a lot of that is projection. A lot of these vegans that are vehemently talking about meat eaters are craving burgers every night. A lot of these vegans who talk about meat eaters are the first ones who's, when their teeth breaks, they're the ones worried because they know that they're not doing something right, that they're not in alignment with themselves. So I just say this. I love and appreciate the vegan lifestyle. I've been about this life for over 30 years. On and on, vegan, vegetarian. I've been kosher. I've eaten halal. I've done it all. Raw. I've done it all. I've lived that life since 15. Okay? Do the math. Since 15. I've seen homies come and go into the lifestyle. I've seen people die off of both lifestyles, eating too much meat, being too acidic, getting sick. And I've seen vegans being too extreme, getting sick. So that's why you always hear me saying now, it's you need to stay somewhere in the middle. If you are eating wonderfully fruitarian every day, and then one day something says, oh my God, I'm depleted of B12. I need to get that. And you're taking B12 and you're not absorbing it. I do not to be so steadfast to not go and get yourself some brown eggs and make yourself some eggs, or having perhaps adding flash fish if it is for your health's purposes, because the universe wants you healthy. And we all did come here to proactively care for self and involve and be self-love. And part of that is consuming those things that maintain yourself with a level of integrity and acknowledgement for the lives that might have been given to be able to give that to you. Okay? You know, that's an adult position. That's an adult perspective. You know, what you're going to stay steadfast vegan until your teeth fall out and your hair fall out, and then you're like, oh wow, there's no returning. I'm telling you, vegans, there's no returning. When you go so far vegan and you're hell-bent on staying there at the detriment of your health, not knowing that your ancestors personally didn't eat that way. Now, the only ancestors that I know who are about that vegan life live in the islands. Most of the island people from where I come from, the Carib, the Taino, the Polynesians, the Asian, and around the Philippines, those are the only people. And on the outskirts of it's a place outside of Africa on the islands. Those are the only people who have the endocrine system to be able to tolerate a fruitarian diet to the exclusion of dairy or milk or any animal product. That's a fact. If you are from those areas, I'm just saying, you know, if you don't believe me, you can actually research that and you'll find that out. Look at the diet, and even with those people who lived in the Polynesian islands and on the islands of Taino, the Caribbean Arabs, they still consume fish occasionally and some land animals once in a blue. If you are not from those bloodlines where you are from those people, you are killing yourself. Nobody will tell you that, because veganism is a big business right now. You have to be mindful that if you don't come from those people, if you are part of the indigenous population of the Blackfoot, the Iroquois, the Chickasaw, the Sioux, the Cherokee, who else? There's so many different in life. You don't come from vegetarian and fruitarianism. You don't. You've eaten buffalo. Your families ate deer and venison. Creek. You guys ate, you know, the little turkeys. Actually, turkeys were something that were consumed by the Cherokee and some of the Blackfoot. You guys ate things like that. That's part of your native diets. But I'm just saying, for those who are going extreme, eating in a way that your ancestors didn't intend, thinking that you're being mindful of animals, you need to be mindful of yourself. If you care about animals more than you care about your own self and well-being, that is a testament that you are out of balance. Self-love comes before love for all. A mother cannot sustain her children and do well by her children if she's not sustained herself. If you are unable to love self first, everybody, I'm not to the point of sociopathic behavior, not to the point of narcissism. We're not talking about selfishness to that degree, but self-love determines how it translates otherwise. If you are caring about animals more than you care about yourself, you are imbalanced. You're not even cohesive with nature. Okay? You're out of balance. Should you be killing animals or buying animals that are caged and abused and held captive? Absolutely zero. I disagree. Should you be taking a mother's milk from a cow and she can't even nurse her babies? I disagree. But I've gone to places where I've seen farmers. Remember, I raised my babies. I had babies on the farm. I farm my own food. I can talk about this perspective wise. I've had my hands in the dirt with a baby on a hip and one in the tummy. I've gone to farms and went and got the milk from a person right there with the one cow, and it was a mother, and she was nursing her baby cow as they're getting milk, raw milk, because raw milk is illegal in the United States of America. You know that, right? So when I went to the farm, the baby cow was feeding from the mother while they're taking some milk and borrowing milk from her while she's able to still feed her baby. You see how balanced that is? But, and you got to be careful. Why would you want to consume, this is another theory, why would you want to consume cow milk, which is for a bigger animal that is not what we look like? But I'm saying if you're going to go into the realm of eating and consuming things, you have to know a bit about it. Don't be so far removed from where you get your food. Most of you, if you had to hunt, you wouldn't eat. I don't have a problem with meat eaters if you could hunt. If you hunt and you go out and you actually can catch your own meal and you see the life and you have respect for the life that made you work for its passing transition, then I have more respect for you. You rarely hear me talk about hunters who are hunters that actually hunt for food, consume the food, and actually wear and respect the animal's life. There's more ownership to it. They don't go around killing does and females. They're not going around killing animals for the antlers so they can get the taxidermy to put it on the wall. I'm talking about the indigenous people who used to hunt for food and used to give respect to the life that they took. And they didn't do it every day, all day. If they hunted once in a while and they consumed whatever was available to them at that time. That's my consensus. And you already know, as far as the veggies, if you've never grown your own food, remember I grew up on a farm, not when I was younger, when I had my babies, and I grew 70% of my own produce. Yes, I did. If you want to think it's the truth, you can ask about it, okay? I had a third of an acre of raspberries that would grow fresh and free. I planted all my trees, and whenever I grew things, I made sure I didn't pull from the root because it would kill the plant. Many of you are consuming mass murdered plants that are pulled from the root and killed, and then the land is plowed over and then reseeded. That's a form of genocide as well. It's a form of a planticide, herbicide, right? Nobody wants to hear this conversation. I always tell people, if they have a problem with what I'm saying, how much do you grow? Because only people who know that that's true are people who grow their own food. Because when you grow your own food, you have a connection to the sentient life that you're growing. You have a connection to those plants. Those plants were babies. Those seeds are babies. When you put them in the soil, you feel ownership. You feel mothership. You feel a nurturing quality with every plant. Every plant that I planted, I felt a kinship to. And when it's died, I mourned it because you feel it. Because that plant also is connected to you. For people who've never grown near anything, they don't know that plants have feelings. They sense death. They also mourn each other when they're in close proximity and one passes away. They only think animals feel because animals overtly express themselves in a different way. Every species has a way of communicating. It doesn't necessarily translate to the human form. Okay? So I'm just saying, for all you vegan Nazis, you need to take it down a notch. And you need to step in line and be a little more balanced. And for you diabolical meat eaters who don't even have any idea of the torture and abuse of animals, then you need to step in line and maybe acknowledge what happens to some of these animals, which are mostly females. For all the males who are going around talking smack, who eat burgers and everything all day, you're eating mostly females. That's why most of you act like females. Because you're consuming only females. The majority of the animals that are killed are female. And then you wonder why the male population is showing up in a very female way. Most of the hunters will kill males and consume it. You ever see a hunter? I've seen some of the sexiest, most virile hunters. You know how they look? Because they're hunting bulls. They're hunting big male deers, the fighters of the deers. Those are who they're hunting. So when they consume it, they take in that bravado. They take in that, that macho disposition. Okay? But if you're eating females all the time, what do you think the males are going to translate on? Males will be more machismo. Thank you, Spirit. More machismo. But what happens when men are eating women all the time? Female and soy. They want to paint their nails. They want to hang out and look at magazines with you. They want to do your makeup. I'm not disrespecting anyone. I'm just telling you what it is. They want to try on your panties. Nobody wants to hear these conversations because it needs a mother to tell you that. So instead of criticizing men who are eating all this meat, some of you wouldn't even watch football. The most machismo men I know don't watch football. You know why? Because they know that there's a ball between the leg and another man bending over trying to get the ball, and then at the end of the sausage factory, they all jump on each other and pile on each other with a whole bunch of spandex. I'm just saying. Nobody wants to hear that conversation. But that's what it is. So when you're talking to a woman of a certain age, people mistake my age sometimes because they think I'm silly and a little flippant about this life. Been there, done that. So you want to come to me talking about you eat all kind of beef, ribs, and so on like that. You're eating girls. And you're doing a whole bunch of yeast when you drink beer, which lowers your testosterone and also causes all kinds of issues in your scrotum later. And then you wonder why your Johnson is not working like it used to be, because all you're doing is eating females, watching very female type of, very questionable sexual type of pre-porn when you're watching sports. I'm personally, I'm attracted to alphas. When I see an alpha, and it's rare, but when I see an alpha come in the door, he commands my attention. When I see an alpha come inside, I am in awe of his masculinity. It's attractive. I only mate with alphas. The male that I rock with, and some of you met him at the conference, Kurt, that's an alpha. When he walked in front of me, I had to take a step back and catch myself a little bit. I'm just saying, I'm alpha all day. I don't get me wrong, betas. I respect the beta man, especially if he's family oriented. I could rock with you, but I am an O positive. I'm an OG. I come from an heirloom indigenous. I'm looking to mate and procreate and create offspring that will be masterful and will be leaders and will have integrity. In order for me to have an integrity-ridden child or offspring, I have to mate with the best. And I make sure he is clean and free of low diabolical behavior. I make sure that he is good to his family base. I make sure he's an OG because I only mate with my own. I make sure he rocks with the indigenous line because I do mate within my bloodline. And then when I mate with him, the offspring that comes from this belly, I can be of certain will be a leader, will have integrity, will be good to the people, and will be a masterful father when he decides to have his own offspring. Big up to the alphas. And most of the alphas are locked up in jail because they knew that this day would come. And the alpha's not afraid to stay in the truth and stay in integrity. That's a healthy alpha. Healthy alphas are respected. So I'm just saying, there are men behind bars. You know how many alpha? If we were looking at the populace of alphas, all the alphas that, especially when they start showing that their alphas are young, are not being taken to wonderful places to learn about themselves and to master the paralysis and show them the beauty of masculinity. They're being railroaded to the jails and prisons where they're raped by other sick betas and omegas that are mentally unwell. So now you have alphas going out to the jails being reprogrammed by diabolical, narcissistic, animalistic reptilians that are hurting and harming them and ruining a beautiful man. It's a shame. And they do this purposefully. This is why I am relocating. This is why, because any boy who comes from my womb, I will raise him in the jungle and I will let his father show him what it is to be a man. I would want him to respect women. He will be a beautiful husband one day. Any boy or man that comes from this womb of FleurBrun I will make sure he is an honorable being, that he is respectful to all females, he is protective of his tribal base and his family, and that he upholds himself with dignity and pride. And some women say, well, if there's no alphas, then you shouldn't be mating. Because all you're going to do is bring on lower field males, like we see them now, who are worthless to the existence of, or they're not upholding anything. They're playing PlayStation all day. Okay? If you want better, you do better. You shouldn't mate. If there's no mating potential, then you shouldn't mate until you find one. Too many people out here recklessly reproducing children and having zero idea of the type of beings they're bringing on this planet. It's very irresponsible. There are alphas, but you have to be matching the frequency of alpha. You can't be beta. Beta females can mate with an alpha. Alpha females can mate with a beta and an alpha. You can mate with both. But I'm just saying, if you keep mating with these men and with females that are shape-shifting with their makeup, they're not even happy with how they look aesthetically. They're hiding they're not even self-aware. They're eating like Garbage Pail Kids. They're tattooing their entire body. Their verbiage. They're listening to toxic music. Come on now. These are things we need to be more mindful. When you say you're holistic, when you say you're a light worker, I look at your family dynamics. I see how your children show up in the world. Remember, my mother was a teacher and so was I. So when people tell me that they're holistic and they're light bringers, I look at their offspring. If your offspring are not a reflection of the light that you say you're promoting, then it's a denotion that you're not expressing the light. Because apple does not fall very far from the tree, and the mother tree denotes what type of offspring, what kind of fruit she will bring into this world. If your children are showing up diabolically, if mothers, you're saying your yoni's is good, your yoni's good, you're smudging, but your children are showing up tragically, I question you. Because you don't necessarily need a man to raise healthy children, but you need a healthy mother to raise healthy children. Healthy mothers create healthy children, regardless if a father figures there or not. A father can make or break a situation, so if you have a toxic father, then he'll create toxicity for his family base. But if you have a healthy mother and she's solely there, because the strongest animals in the animal kingdom don't require a male, but they require a healthy, strong male to mate with. But they don't require it to parent. The weakest women require help. It's not this. It is what it is. That's why you'll see newer souls on this planet, newer souls who have a white picket fence around them, because they're not built to rear strength. They're built to build within the perimeter of safety and protection. So moms, step it up. If you're going to mate with the alpha, as long as he's able to sustain, he should be able to bring you resources to his household, even if he's not with you. He should be able to build that child up. He should be a pillar in his community. He should be healthy with the mother and the family, dynamics. He should be a healthy candidate, beta or otherwise. I just say I mate with alphas, but there's betas who are just as beautiful. Now, I met more betas that are healthy than some of the alphas, because the alphas they take out. Betas, those are your businessmen. Those are your men that go out, basically, and make sure they uphold themselves for the family dynamics. They do it well. They follow directions well. They're beautiful in that. And there's nothing wrong with the beta. I'm trying to create leaders. That's why I mate with alphas. And the alpha is the only one who has a tolerance and can able to sit and stand with me equally without feeling depreciated. So I'm just saying betas do well as well. Like I said, someone said beta, cough. Women scared of good men. I don't know that women are scared of good men. I think their recognition of a good man might be tainted. think that's all it is. I think recognition of a good, healthy man may not be as easily denoted as some would like. So I think there's a lot of wonderful, healthy betas, less alphas, but they're healthy. And I think, women are acclimated to seeing these clowneries, these garbage pail kids on television, and that's their denotion of what's decent. They would prefer a man be tragically detached or, vehemently stuck on stupid than getting a man who actually has a decent heart, a good level of integrity. I think the foolery, like these little Waynes on television, these basketball players that come from that field. Remember, the basketball players, all these people who have no integrity in their behavioral patterns. People are being, those celebrities are being promoted to you perpetually. So you think that's what you want, and you really don't. Because those men aren't any good. They have no loyalty. They don't have loyalty to themselves. A man who sticks his wand in everything has no loyalty to himself. He's lacking in self-esteem and self-awareness and self-restraint. A man who lacks in self-restraint is a man you can't trust. Why do you think I give some credence and credibility to the Nation of Islam, who trains their males well? I don't agree with the religious factor as far as, suppressing of the woman, but I respect the way that they train males, because the Nation of Islam is probably one of the only astute religious factions that I know that has a tendency to rear its men with a good amount of self-restraint and with good integrity. It's just, the base is dirty because it's based in, patriarchy. That's all. So anyway, family, I diverged off of everything. I just wanted to talk about the what's going on with the herd coming. We got the herd coming. We've got the I know I was supposed to cook here with you. I never ended up doing it. I have my hold on. The herd coming. We have sanctions. Oh, sanctions. We have 700 sanctions on Iran, which might throw them into a war. Hey, friends. We have a lot going on. See, I'm gonna throw these in my food processor. Ah! Sorry, I threw my seeds in there. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm not disrespect. I don't want to disrespect alphas. I mean, betas. So any betas on here? Big up to the betas. Big up to the betas. I appreciate you betas. I really do. And I think it's necessary. I think you're beautiful. I think you translate well. I think you, under the situation, you guys have done really well. Okay? Oh, harems are Muslim culture? She has no knowledge. Did you hear what I said? I said I don't agree with the base. Sometimes you have to listen to what I said. If you only want to hear a certain thing, I think you might be from the Nature Not camp. But no, I said the base as far as patriarchy and how they treat women, absolutely not. But how they treat men. Are you a man hater? Some of you hate men. If you're a man hater, you would see it as that. It's not healthy to have a harem, okay? And if we keep it real, the only people who used to have harems were the royals. Now you have every Tom, Dick, and Harry thinking that he should be a polygamist. Okay, so if we had to keep it real, you should know that the only people back in ancient days that had harems were the royal families. And it was meant to extend the bloodline in all different directions to keep it strong, okay? It wasn't meant for the common male to have harems. They didn't do that. So for those who come on here, make sure you listen to the entire statement that I said, rather than listening to only a few that service your view of me. Okay? Listen, I'm trying to make my raw lunch today, so I don't fall off the wagon. I'll be fine. I just think, and like I said, I'm not the end all of relationships. I'm not the end all be all. I can only tell you from the perspective I realize. But if you're going to raise healthy males, I'm just seeing a whole bunch of unhealthy males in society. I'm just trying to give you my 2 bits about what I think what healthy males may look like. and where they come from. And they come from healthy mothers. I've never seen a healthy male. I haven't seen a healthy male come from a sick mother. A mother who's been suppressed. A mother who's been abused. I haven't seen any healthy man come from an abused mother or a neglectful mother. So if we're going to talk about that, if you're coming from the Muslim society where there's an oppression of the female and she's not allowed to even masterly mother her males properly without the inception of the father overseeing her, then you would know that I'm saying that there could be no healthiness fully with those males because they're coming from a suppressive system and they will never give credence and credibility to the womb, space, and the stargate that comes with their women. They won't respect them. So that's all I was saying. Strong women make strong males. You ever see a young man? I'll tell you about Kirk. Oh, thank you, Cher Cruz. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, especially with us mommies. Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. I appreciate your donation. Thank you, Mama. I think a lot of times we don't have these discussions enough. And if we're going to have these discussions, we should have it in a wide group. I think a lot of times there's only Muslim women having discussions with other Muslim women. There's only Christian women with different sects of the Christianity having discussions with motherhood. Then you're having only the light workers having discussion with light workers. Then you have the occult mothers. We need to bring all the goulash together and make a masterful, give masterful information and share all that we have. Our society is sick. Do you not see that? You have boys killing themselves to the most heightened degree that we haven't seen since the Great Depression. We haven't seen that. So if I'm going to say that maybe we need to have some information and share it amongst each other's mothers, like Muslim women would learn well from a Christian mother, a mother who's Amish would learn well from another Amish mom, some of our Buddhist mothers would learn well from some of our occult mothers. Why don't we bring all the information together so we can create better beings on this planet? Because it's sick. Everything's showing up sick. What do you do when you have a sick crop? You got to basically redo everything. You got to come from another perspective. It's not working. Mothers are not rearing healthy boys, so it means the mothers aren't healthy. We got to do something about the mommies being healthy. We got to talk to each other. I prefer hearing from other mommies. There were times when my little one got sick and I didn't know what to do and I had used all my remedies and so on. Do you know how many wonderful mothers would give me information? I loved it. And they didn't look like me. Or they came... Hold on. Hello? 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 You there? Hello? Yeah. What's going on? Why? What happened? What? What happened? I can't hear you. What happened? What happened, Bubba? Can you give me some, can you tell me what's going on? All right. Okay, let me, uh-oh. There's something going on in paradise. All right, family. I gotta go attend to my little ones. They're calling me. So I hope this discussion was helpful. Boys matter too. As much as you think that I'm a proactive for just the mommies or for women, if you know I am the biggest advocate for the boys. And I think a lot of times the boys don't get enough of the coddling and the love and the protection as they should. And I think it's necessary for us to start to redevelop how we see how our little ones show up and what's necessary to make them healthier. And anyway, talking about 11 11 11, I say, listen family, I say you should eat better, match the frequency of what you think is coming in, and has heightened self-awareness. I think that would be good. I think this is a time that this vortex is about to open, or this stargate, whatever we know it to be. And again, we should be prepared, and however we feel to prepare. I don't think it's prepare like outwardly. I think everything inside, if you are ready and matching the frequency of whatever happens, that's what you will experience. So anyway, I love you family. I appreciate the conversation. We went all over the place. I apologize for being long-winded and talking about 50 other things. Again, 11/11, I'll probably come on that day. We'll discuss things. Maybe we'll pass through the vortex together. Maybe be ready for it. So, have a beautiful day. I'm about to make my goodies quickly. I've got my little people calling me, so I got to address that. And stay positive, stay healthy, and stay realistic and stay balanced. All right? I love you, family. Thank you. Peace. If I can ever shut up, I can never shut this off because I can't see it.